just gotten the Spirit Christmas animatronic listings, pricings, and even some demos. I'm Spirit Keeper and I give you a reason for every season. And today I'm going to once again be talking about Spirit Christmas, as yesterday I made a video, and if you haven't watched that already, I would highly recommend doing so to get caught up on a couple things. However, just after posting that video, even more animatronics and some demos and the actual listings on the website have been revealed, so it seems like it's official. Spirit Christmas is already getting started. But I don't want to keep you waiting for any longer, so let's go ahead and jump right into this. I'm going to first start off by talking about this all-new Snoopy animatronic coming from Charlie Brown. Now, I'm very surprised that we haven't yet to see a Snoopy animatronic from really any retailer when it comes to Christmas animatronics, and I feel like it's definitely long awaited, as Snoopy is always that classic Christmas character that's really easy to make into that nice Christmas prop, and I feel like a ton of people are going to like this one, as he's supposed to look like he's ice skating. Now, not only do we know the price and have all the stock photos for these props, but we can also tell the animations due to the descriptions. What Snoopy does is going to be rotating 360 degrees, so he's basically going to be spinning in a circle on top of that almost snow looking thing. And another thing I like to mention is that Snoopy is going to be outdoor rated, which is so crazy. We typically see that with their Halloween animatronic, Spirit Halloween, from this year specifically, and now even the Christmas props are going to be outdoor rated, so you can have this on your lawn all season long, and it's going to last. The music that Snoopy is going to play during his activation is going to be Linus and Lucy, which is an officially licensed song, and Snoopy is going to be retailed for $250, which I honestly think is an amazing price considering it's a licensed prop, it's outdoor rated, has a nice movement, and even a copyrighted song. So overall, I think for $250, and he also stands at 4'10", which I think is the perfect height for Snoopy. You're not able to buy Snoopy just yet, as it does say coming soon. However, I'm hoping in the near future that we will get him being available and you can actually end up purchasing him, because I might just have to pull the trigger. But going on to the appearance of Snoopy, I think that he looks really great considering what he's supposed to look like from the Charlie Brown films and everything like that. I think that he just looks so awesome. And I especially love the fact that they use the concept of him ice skating. I think it fits the character so well, and I like that they didn't make him too big, as I think standing around 5 feet tall is the perfect height for Snoopy, considering that his hat will probably be a foot tall. He also has fully sculpted ice skates on the back foot, you can tell, with that bottom being exposed. But that's just about it for Snoopy. However, if you would like to take a look at any of these, or even purchase the next two that I'm going to be talking about, I will have the link down in the description to this page showing you all the props, all the listings, and everything like that I'm going to be talking about. Going forward, this is more of a rerun, as I did talk about these props yesterday. However, the next two actually have demos already revealed here on the website, that being the gingerbread man and woman. These are actually up available for purchase right now, so if you do want to buy them, I highly recommend going to get them before they do sell out. Both of these are already up on the website available for purchase, so if you do want them, I highly recommend going to buy them as soon as possible, as I'm sure they're going to sell out within the next couple days. But from the demo, we can tell that the gingerbread pair is going to have a swaying side-to-side animation, and they both do stand at 3 feet tall. And I was wrong on my predictions yesterday. They don't have a flickering effect with the LEDs, or the LEDs still look really nice, and I'm presuming that they're going to shine pretty bright, as just considering it looks like more of a neon LED color. But overall, I think that the animation is way better than I was expecting, as I thought they were just going to be something that you could like pose on a different like axis. However, they do rotate, and I think that that's a really neat effect. They do also both feature some music to go along with that, and it's fine. I mean, it's just classic Christmas songs. It's nothing licensed really or anything like that. But however, they are also being outdoor rated, which is gonna happen with a lot of these props I'm gonna be talking about today, which is so awesome, meaning that you can have them out pretty much all season long and they will last in the rain, when really anything like that, you just need to make sure that you have weights on the prop. Besides that, they should be pretty much fine. I personally enjoy the look of the female gingerbread, just because I think the LEDs pop out more, and I think that the overall just design of her is a bit better compared to the boy, as it's that traditional gingerbread. So it's kind of repetitive. You see it in books, movies, everything like that. But I think the girl, it looks really nice, especially with all those bright LED colors featured with her. They're both being retailed for $120. However, if you do go ahead and buy them in that pair, it knocks down the price, reducing it to $100 each, which I think is an awesome discount. Hopefully we see something like that on another pair that will be coming up. However, $100 each for both of the gingerbreads. I really don't think you can go wrong, especially with them being outdoor rated. Before moving on to some of the new props for 2026, I like to say that the Misfit toys and Clarice are available right now on the website, coming from last year, 2025, Peppermint Lane, and along as Frosty. However, Frosty isn't available to buy just yet. However, the Misfit toys are going to be featured in the ISE this year. I'm not 100% on Clarice just yet. However, the Misfit toys are going to be on the back wall of the ISE, kind of like what they have for Freddy for 2026 over at Spirit Halloween. I'd also like to mention that the Misfit toys, Clarice, and Frosty will not be having any price increases, so that's definitely a good thing. From here on out, I'm going to keep the video quite simple, as I'm just literally going to be talking about the price of the few animatronics that I've already talked about yesterday, and some other things, starting off with Heat Miser. Now, Heat Miser stands at 4'8", and he's being retailed for $350, which I think is absolutely insane, just because, yeah, it's licensed, but he only stands at 4'8", and $350 I think is just a lot to be asking for. However, for the animation, the description reads, Heat Miser's body twists from side to side as his head tilts and his mouth moves in a lively talking motion. He sings 3 verses from the officially licensed Heat Miser song and can interact with his chilly partner, Snow Miser. Now that is something absolutely huge, showing that Heat Miser and Snow Miser, the next animatronic I'm going to be talking about, are actually compatible to talk, like we did see with Emily and Victor from Spirit Halloween in 2024. Heat Miser isn't outdoor rated. However, I think with him being able to interact with Snow Miser, I think that makes up for it, just because that is such a cool thing. If you do buy them as a pair, they can interact, and I'm guessing that they will have some sort of same discount like the gingerbreads do, so maybe it'll knock down their prices to $300 each, just because if you buy them as a pair, like with the gingerbreads, it knocks off a couple bucks. Moving on to Snow Miser, at the moment, we don't have an official listing up. It says, Oh the Horror, or that page, so we can't tell what his animation or what he will do just yet. However, we do know that he is going to be priced for $350 as his counterpart as well, and then he's also going to stand at 6'1", which I think is definitely much better be compared to Heat Miser. Me personally, I think that Snow Miser is definitely my favorite of the two, just because I feel like that he's more of that classic Christmas look. Like I mentioned yesterday, these are both coming from the film, being officially licensed from the Year Without Santa Claus. Moving on to Professor Hinkle from the Frosty the Snowman line, he stands at 5'5" and is being retailed for $350 as well. However, we don't have the official listing up just yet, so we don't know what his animation will be. However, by the look of the back of the head, I'm guessing that he could even have a servo motor like we are seeing on another prop this year, with that being the other mother from Halloween Costumes, with that really thin neck. However, it still can have that amazing animation, so I'm excited to see what Professor Hinkle will be having for 2026. I'd also like to mention that from here on out, none of the animatronics are up for grabs just yet. They all do say coming soon. It was just those first couple ones that were up for sale at the moment. The next animatronic, a part of the Frosty the Snowman line, we have Karen, and this description reads for the animation, as she comes to life, her head and body move in a gentle side-to-side motion while she delivers 4 authentic phrases with a voice inspired by the beloved holiday classic. Now, obviously, we do know that she's going to turn side to side, as the description did say. However, I feel like it would have been so fitting if her arms were to move, like, I don't even know how to describe it, like front and back. I feel like that would have been really neat, almost like she was dancing or something, just by the way her arms are positioned on the prop and everything. However, still, she has some movement, which is definitely a plus to this animatronic, and she stands at 4 foot tall and is going to be retailed for $270, which is something I like to also say. I feel like the prices this year for Spirit Christmas are very high, considering what you're getting. However, they are licensed, so if that makes anything up. Up next is the Hocus Pocus Rabbit, also coming from Frosty the Snowman, standing at 3'8" and being retailed for $130, and his description reads, upon activation, the left arm waves up and down, creating a charming animated performance that's sure to spread Christmas cheer. So it's definitely better than I was expecting for this prop animation wise, as his arm does wave, which is definitely a plus. However, I still feel like it's not a whole ton, but really, what else are you going to do with a 3 foot tall rabbit? Up next is a 2 foot tall Gizmo prop that is being retailed for $150, and his eyes do actually blink, and he has 3 lines from the Gremlin party sounds, as the description does read. And I think that for $150, him blinking his eyes and even having some phrases, I think that the Gizmo is definitely going to be your best bang for the buck this season, especially with how accurate he looks to the film and just the overall Christmas aesthetic that he does feature. The Christmas lights wrapped around him also do light up with some LEDs. After that is the 8 foot Angel. That is a static piece, however, it is outdoor rated, has some LEDs, and even has some officially licensed audio. It actually has 5 tracks, and you will see them on screen. They're all copyright, so I think that that's definitely neat. And this one is going to be retailed for only $200, which I honestly don't think is a bad price considering all that you're getting. We then have the 2'8" Penguin Caroler animatronic, and this one is actually way better than I was anticipating it to be. It actually does have the mouth movement open and up, and then he does also have his flippers like go up and down, or flapping in a way if you like to call it that. And I honestly think that this is really good considering it only being $150. It looks nice, and the animation is definitely a really nice touch. Saving the worst for last, we have the swinging gnome prop, and in the name all it does is swing. We don't have a demo, but do we really need one? It's the same thing as the snowman and the elf from previous years. However, this one is indoor use only, which is really annoying because where else are you going to put this besides your porch? However, it does have a neat song as it does sing Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, or really just the tune. It's not actually singing it, which would have been pretty neat. However, I feel like that this thing is just not something that we really needed for the lineup this year, especially for it being $200. Like, what? Well, there you have it, the Spirit Christmas 2026 animatronic lineup. We have gotten some brand new props today, some demos, prices, everything like that. So I'm hoping that maybe even some more demos and props will be up for grabs in the next few days, weeks. I don't even know anymore. However, Spirit Christmas has started off really early this year, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest fan of this. I liked when they waited a bit, got all the hype down for every other company, and then they brought out their entire lineup. However, it's still here. I'm here to talk about it, and I think that it is off to a very strong start compared to especially their first year in 2024 with them only having 3 props. But make sure to leave your thoughts on these down in the comments below, and anyway, make sure to remember that I'm a Spirit Keeper and I give you a reason for every season. Bye.